when you don't have a fancy grid, you can always use the width of your iPhone to get you into there. So that'd be just about where I want to be. And for usually I would just quickly adjust. But for the purpose of showing you guys how you can do this, I'm gonna try to get a figure of how far am I from max. So about 7 rings, and the wind is 3.8. So this will give me, for Fusion, the flat number of a pull, 3. 3 will be the pull here if I want to be exactly at that spot for a drive. Obviously here it's not really important, but sometimes for different holes, it could be so, or for whenever you're using, say a DX, you adjust like that, and you for a DX you want the max distance, so you go back straight in line to the distance you were looking for, and you can maybe I can bomb a hole later on to show you guys. So just go back there. You're gonna pull quickly, roughly 3, and it's gonna be good enough for the purpose of this video. Pardon me. All right, the different reads you're gonna make. Obviously, we're playing mostly a Bigfoot game here. You can play Peggy if you want, but I don't recommend it. The shot view sucks. It's really, really hard to read. So Bigfoot is the way to go anyway, to get started and then get comfortable with everything else. First off, elevation. You can look at it this way. See, the top of the blue flag is pretty much level with the cloud box. So underneath Bigfoot there, that tells me it's pretty level. And another way to make the read is go behind. A bit aside like that. And I don't see much elevation there. It might be a tiny bit, but even 1% doesn't make that much of a difference on that shot. So I won't bother. I'm gonna play it as a 0 elevation. Now you go to max and you see the distance in rings between the pin and the max of your club. It's about 0.1, right? If it'd be there, it'd be minus 0.1. So I was really sharp on my setup. So kudos to me. So we have elevation 0 and ring from max 0.1. Now the wind is 3.8, and I'm gonna set up approximately where I want to be. I'm gonna play it. You'll see later on why I'm setting up about 3 rings. And now my wind arrow is pretty where I'm aiming straight, coming in straight. So the wind arrow is accurate for the read I need. So the wind is coming from 7 o'clock or a tiny bit more. 7.2. Now I now play most of my shot with a shot view at 2. Having the shot view set first at the selected number, First, it helps. It makes sure you don't have any backspin effect, any retro effect on your shot. The ball's gonna have a nice rollout, and it's easy to measure at 2. So at least you have one fixed figure that you can easily measure, and then it tells you your rollout's gonna be at 312. So you notice me, I was setting up at around 3 rings from the first bounce. Well, I knew with tailwind that it was gonna be about that. So let's do the rest of the setup now, and we'll come back for the pull because I'm gonna forget. I always forget, so I always come back and double check. You know, check twice and hit once. That's my model. So being as straight as possible is quite important, obviously, for the wind effect and everything else, and the ball to go straight in line where you expect it to. So there are many ways to go about this. I even noticed how Sushi does it the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's a very good idea. To make sure it's pretty straight in line, I like to peel back like that, check my line, and play with it, and make sure it's straight. And obviously, you want to be on the strong side, on the higher side if there's a slope on the green. But this is, for now, this is pretty straight. I'm comfortable with that. And 312 was going to be just a tiny bit behind where we were. I'm going to go check like this. Yeah, 312. I'm comfortable with that. Always playing it a bit behind what it says, but not too much. So you can also look from behind. Use the line, use your avatar. There's a pointy thing at the bottom there. You can line that up and see how it goes. This is damn straight. Now, use your first bounce on the hole on a line on your grid if you have one, or just make sure it's straight. And what I do is put my middle line right at 2, and I use a release, some backspin to bring my line right there. And where I put lots of emphasis on is the fact that your shot view, you see there, you see it, it's right at 2, right? That's 78% of the shot view, and the rest of the rollout with the tailwind is the rest. But if you look at it closely with a magnifier, you see it's going over right now. And there's also the fact that when you get that blurry shot guide factor, you see it's actually a bit further than that. So I always place it a little bit behind the line I set myself for it to be. So that's even too much. I'm going to bring it back a little more. So to me, that's 2. I wish I could show you where I see it ends, but where I know it ends, it's a bit further. So to me, that's a 2 shot view, and should roll out to 3.1. It's actually pretty much set at 3.2, but I'm comfortable with that spot. The green read here, it seems pretty flat. It's not going uphill, or it's not front to back or anything. And even from side to side, I don't think from the first bounce it's gonna go one side or the other. So yeah, that's a pretty straightforward shot. Going back to my pull, 3.32. So I'm gonna again set on a line here. I'm gonna try to see 3.32 rings. Am I pulling down or up? If I'm pulling, this is fairly straight, like might be a tiny bit downhill, but I won't adjust for that. But if if I was pulling down that slope there, then you pull less when you pull down, and you pull more when you pull up. How much? Well, that's very much a good question. It's trial and error. I count clicks actually. I'll give you an example here, although it's not pertinent. So I'm going to set that 2.32. Yeah. To me, that looks about right. Make sure it's straight. All right. So say I would be pulling downhill. I'd pull 3.32, and I'd release like 1, 2, or 3 clicks depending on the slope. And if I was pulling uphill, well, I would go 3.32 and on to 3 or more. But those are rare, that you have to adjust more than 3 clicks in my books. So this one, my feel was that I didn't need to adjust. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Hitting ultimate is key here, and I'm really struggling with that lately. I'm not in a good place mentally and physically, so I just do my best. So sorry if I miss. Money in the bank. That hole is pretty straightforward. No elevation. The green is straight, flat, so it's very doable when you put the right numbers in. It gets tricky once we go to the other holes. Be a little over. I'm going to do this quickly now. A bit less than 4 because I'm far from max, and it doesn't have to be that precise. Okay, so I already noticed there's going to be some elevation coming in here. Lots of it, that the blue flag is way over the box. So I'm going to go behind, see what it says. See how far down you're hitting the ball from. So I know I have some notes on this one, so let's go check it out. Close house 2. See, I had 1 in my notes, so I guess it depends where you land. For close house here, I have 3 elevation, so that seems about right. Anything else? So SWK for me means secondary wind kick. That secondary wind effect that comes into factor that you have to account for. And med, it's medium, meaning it's not like the big ones. Think Wolf Creek 3 or some other roll that you really get the big kick from the wind after the first bounce. So I'll adjust accordingly. So I go back to the file. I'm gonna put in 3 for elevation already and go back to making the other reads. Again, I'm right there. A little too close to comfort if I I got a headwind, sorry. I wouldn't be able to do my pull here for Bigfoot, so I played that a little bit too loosely, and thank God there are no consequences. But for learning purposes, that could have been good for me to have to show you guys different ways to go about it. So for now, we have ring from pin, we're minus 1.3. The wind is 4.2. And once we're set where we want to be, and that bugger, yeah, gonna be about there, I think. Is coming in from 6.8, 6.9. Now, from experience, I know this might not be the tightest shot view. Oh, actually, it's not so bad. I'm really at max. All right, so I'm gonna play this at 2, as usual. So 324 is gonna be my rollout. Checking if it makes sense. 324. Yeah, a bit further. It's gonna be the ball's gonna be picked up by the wind as well. So I'm gonna play it a bit more like 3.3, 3.35. Not too much though. When you do a correction on things, usually I tend to overdo it and end up hurting me. So again, when you have to make sure you're pretty straight. Looking good for first check. Gonna go put it at 2. So this shot is gonna hit lower than the hole, but then from after a first bounce, it's gonna be pretty flat. So no worries too much there. And obviously, since the first bounce is lower, you're gonna pull it. How can I do this? Like yeah, you can put it on the same line if you want to be perpendicular. So what I do is when it's lower, I'm gonna put it before the line and make sure the hole is on the line. Again, that's a little too much. A bit behind. You can check with the magnifier, with the zoom feature if you want, or just get a feel for it and don't be too anal about it. I like to be right on spot because I love the ball to drop in the hole. Looks good. What do I see from here? Oh, one other way you can align your shot guide is to go beyond the pin, beyond the flag, and you have a good view of the. It's hard when it's lower like that, but if you can put everything in line, it's a bit tricky, but it's worth it, you'll see. Just beyond like that. You can see it's off just a tiny bit. So So you want to bring it back and be as straight as possible. There you go. So this is really straight. Now trying to get a good read on, is there any break on the green? So right now I know I'm a little off center for my shot, but I don't see much of a break. So I'm gonna correct that. Oh, damn it. I hate when I do that. A bit too far back. So this looks good. Making sure you're damn straight. Here we go. I'm gonna peel it off and check it out. Should I be a bit more outside, perhaps? Yep. Okay, that's good. Now, secondary wind kick. So it's coming from the left to right a bit, not so much, but still it's gonna pick up the ball and bring it to the right. So I could either move a bit to the left, or you could use the side spin to correct against it. And correcting against it really helps when it's really crosswind. For this one, you could do it either way, but for the learning purposes, I'm going to show you just a tad to the side like this should be just enough. Hopefully I'm right. Oh, pull 358. So it's going downhill a bit, so I should be pulling it one click less. It's not really inclined. It's not that much of a slope, but 358 is actually a bit lower than a flat pull like we had for the first one. So again, I'm setting up at 258. I'm pulling to the next ring, not to the middle one. I learned that watching Banger's videos. I really recommend you guys watch Banger's videos on elevation and green reads. It's a game changer. It totally changed the way I played and the way I saw approach my shots, and it really helped. You also notice I don't differentiate from different rings. I know some are bigger, some are smaller. I guess it all evens out the way I pull it. I don't count them as different. A ring is a ring, a number is a number, and I pull, and that's all there is to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just lucky making all the drops I make, but that's how I go. So again, I pull where I want to, and I release one click, or two, or three, depending on how slopey the green is. So here I said one. I'm gonna stick to that. Just release one. Here you go. Not enough. So I should have corrected more. See, I was right there, right on line, but the wind really picked it up and pushed it to the left. So a miscorrection here. I knew exactly what I had to do, but I didn't do it right. I didn't do it enough. So medium, actually, how to interpret my notes. Medium.